When the Roman army entered the city of Cartagena in 209 BC, they no longer targeted just the Carthaginian soldiers, but everyone in the city. The massacre began. According to Greek historian Polybius, when the Romans captured a city, it was their custom to kill everyone and everything in sight. This is what he says about this brutal Roman army tradition. One may often see in towns captured by the Romans, not only human beings who have been put to the sword, but even dogs cloven down the middle, and the limbs of other animals hewn off. The civilians in Cartagena were terrified by Scipio's Roman army, and Mago, the commander of Cartagena, had to helplessly watch the events unfold. In this video, we are going to see what exactly happened before and after this massacre, and how Scipio Africanus managed his first mission as a general. Also, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel and let me know what other history topics you'd like to see. 211 BC, in the Battle of Upper Baetis in Spain, 2 Roman generals were defeated by 3 Carthaginian generals, Hasdrubal and Mago Barca, and Hasdrubal Gisco. One of the major reasons for their defeat was the treachery of Celtibrinian mercenaries, who had been bribed by the Carthaginians to abandon the Roman army. The Romans had to helplessly watch as 20,000 Spanish mercs, basically 40% of their entire forces, deserted right in front of their eyes. Not long after, both Roman generals were found dead on the battlefield. They were Scipio's father and uncle. After their deaths, the Roman people expected to see new capable candidates succeed the Scipio brothers. According to Livy, however, the citizens were depressed, almost in despair. Everywhere, men were saying that the state was in such a hopeless condition that no one dared to accept the command in Spain. You see, Spain had been Hannibal's base of operations. Great numbers of the Carthaginian supply and reinforcements arrived at Cartagena every now and then. Hannibal's 3 most trustworthy generals who had defeated the Scipio brothers were currently also stationed there. On top of that, many Spanish tribes, especially the most powerful chiefs such as Indibilis and Mandonius, were allied with the Carthaginians. In fact, the Scipio brothers' main goal had been to cut Hannibal's supply line, and they had been fairly successful at it until their last battles. But if their successor failed to maintain the interruption of Hannibal's supplies, the results could be very bad and possibly catastrophic for the Romans. It was a big responsibility to bear. Under these circumstances in Spain, it was not very surprising that the average Roman nobles didn't volunteer to take the role. All of a sudden, however, Publius Cornelius Scipio, the son of the fallen general, stepped forward and declared his candidacy. Although he was only in his mid-20s, Scipio was very popular among the people due to his personal charm and admirable conduct. According to Livy, Scipio was elected unanimously, not only by the centuries but by every single man. After Scipio was elected, however, the voters started to have second thoughts about Scipio's youth. Some even feared for the bad fortune of the Scipio family. It was the father and uncle not long ago, and now they had chosen the son possibly for the same fate. A regretful silence followed in the Campus Martius, where the election had been held. Scipio noticed this sudden change in atmosphere and gathered the voters to hold a speech that, according to Livy, evoked their enthusiasm once more. So, Scipio became the supreme commander in Spain. Marcus Silanus was appointed as the second in command. His brother Lucius Scipio and his friend Gaius Laelius also joined him as senior officers. 210 BC, 2 Roman legions on 30 quinquereme under Scipio's command set sail from the mouth of Tiber. The fleet sailed along the coastline and disembarked at Emporiae. From there, the Roman army marched to Tarraco. There, Scipio regrouped with 8,000 survivors from the Battle of Upper Baetis, and with 10,000 reinforcements who were under the temporary command of Claudius Nero. With Scipio's 2 new legions, the entire Roman force in Spain amounted to about 30,000 soldiers. Scipio spent his time training the soldiers, visiting friendly Spanish tribes and gathering intel. After spending the winter in Spain, Scipio judged it was the right time to attack the Carthaginians. Scipio gathered his soldiers and gave an inspirational speech. According to Polybius and Livy, Scipio pointed out that the Carthaginian generals had separated due to their bad relationship, and due to the maltreatments of the local Spanish people, the latter would gladly join the Romans now. Therefore, the timing was right to strike back. Based on Livy's record, Scipio finished his speech like this: "You recognize a likeness to my father and uncle in figure, face, and expression. I will soon show you that I am like them also in character and fidelity and courage, so that each of you may say that the Scipio who was his old commander has either come to life again or reappeared in his son." It was spring 209 BC. The 27,000 Roman soldiers under Scipio's command crossed the Ebro, while 3,000 soldiers under the command of Officer Silanus were securing Tarraco. Interestingly, not even the officers knew what Scipio's plan was, because Scipio kept it under wraps and only revealed it to Gaius Laelius. Secrecy was the key to success for this mission. Speaking of Officer Gaius Laelius, he was an old friend of Scipio, and according to Polybius, he was the one who witnessed teenager Scipio running into the battlefield and single-handedly save his dad Anticinus. Laelius currently served under Scipio as fleet commander, and later commanded the cavalry in the Battle of Zama. There he played an important role in defeating Hannibal. Incidentally, he later befriended the Greek historian Polybius. You can say that a large part of Polybius's historical records about Scipio Africanus stemmed in fact from Laelius. Coming back to the campaign, Scipio sent Laelius with 30 ships to Cartagena, while Scipio himself marched at a rapid speed to the same destination. Meanwhile, the Carthaginian generals were separated from each other and not expecting an attack. Therefore, Mago, the commander of Cartagena, was taken by complete surprise by the 2 Roman attacks from the land and the sea. What's really astonishing is that Scipio occupied this rich and well-fortified city within a single day. Scipio and his Roman army entered Cartagena, and unfortunately, this meant the civilians in the city became their targets as well. As mentioned earlier, the Roman army was known for their brutality. The people in Cartagena were terrified of the Roman soldiers entering the city. The killing spree began. Mago soon realized the battle was already decided and that resistance was pointless. As the Carthaginian commander surrendered, Scipio also stopped his soldiers. The massacre stopped completely. According to military historian and theorist Liddell Hart, the massacre was partly offset by Scipio's generous, if diplomatic, conduct to the vanquished, once the initial ruthlessness had achieved its purpose of quenching the citizens' will to resist. Scipio first released the 10,000 Spanish locals who had been held captive by the Carthaginians and restored their property. Among the captive women, there was the wife of Mandonius. One day, she fell at Scipio's feet and in tears begged him to protect their honor better than the Carthaginians had done. Scipio first didn't understand well, but then noticed the young and beautiful daughters of Indibilis and other young noble ladies, and with a heavy heart came to realize what she really meant and the danger they had been through. Scipio even cried as well, and promised to take care of them as if they were his own sisters and made sure of their protection. There were also a lot of children from noble Spanish families who had formerly been held hostages by the Carthaginians. Scipio called them one by one, stroking their heads and giving them toys. He promised to reunite them with their parents and sent letters to the parents guaranteeing the safety of their children. Above all, the most famous anecdote is a story involving a young lady. Some of the young Roman soldiers found a strikingly beautiful woman and brought her to Scipio. Scipio was in awe with her beauty but refused her by saying that, if he had been in a private position, he could have received no present that would have given him greater pleasure. But as a general, it was the last in the world which he could receive. Polybius's version doesn't include many details about the story, but according to Livy, she was in fact already engaged to a young Celtibrian noble by the name of Alucius. Scipio's respectable conduct really impressed Alucius and motivated him to join the Roman army with his 1,400 horsemen a few days later. These are quite a lot of stories, but they can come across as quite dramatic and maybe even exaggerated, to the extent that it makes you wonder how much truth there is to them. However, what is true is that Scipio received a lot of support from the Spanish locals, which was one major factor of his fast success in his Iberian campaign. This makes it still likely that the stories, at least in their essence, really happened. As a matter of fact, around this point, the Spanish people even began to see this young Roman general no longer as another conqueror, but as a trustworthy ally. Some even started to call Scipio a king. Spring passed, and in early summer, Scipio had an important visitor. His name was Edico, a prince of the powerful tribe Editani. After seeing that his wife and children were safe and sound, Edico not only joined Scipio himself, but brought his friends and relatives along to be allied with Scipio too. Moreover, even greater news was delivered to Scipio soon afterwards. Indibilis and Mandonius, the most powerful chiefs in Spain, deserted from the Carthaginians and joined Scipio. The power balance was shifting dramatically, and it even caused a chain effect, in that many other smaller Spanish tribes started to desert the Carthaginians as well. This is what Polybius mentioned regarding Scipio's early success in Cartagena. For though success in a campaign and victory over one's enemies are great things, it requires much greater skill and caution to use such success as well. Accordingly, you will find that those who have gained victories are many times more numerous than those who have made good use of them. Indeed, Scipio was the prime example of this. Although he captured just one city, he truly maximized his victory with his exceptional diplomacy. Needless to say, it made his enemies highly alerted. In fact, Hasdrubal Barca was very worried about Scipio's remarkable achievement and was frustrated by the desertions of the Spanish tribes. He became nervous that Scipio might attack him at any moment. He thought that his best option was to take a bold action before even more Spanish tribes would abandon him to join Scipio. He moved his army and encamped on a high plateau near the city of Bacula. Thus, Hasdrubal Barca voluntarily became Scipio's next target. If you enjoyed the video, you can support my channel by liking and subscribing and hit the notification bell in order not to miss any future videos about Scipio Africanus. If you are interested in my artwork, you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram via the links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Scipio's Spanish campaign will be continued.